Hello and welcome back. I am Jag Thunder and this is Minecraft. Today I am bringing you a two-part tutorial guide. The first part will be on circles, even circles and odd circles. The second part will be on domes and more advanced domes. The end of this first part we will go over basic dome construction, but the advanced shit will be in part 2. So sit back, relax, and let's build some good fun shit. Okay, so most of the time you have plenty of room to work with in Minecraft. The world is huge, there's all kinds of room to make whatever the hell you want to, but the other half of the time you have all your buildings close together and you have a specified amount of room in which to put something in. So instead of putting another lunchbox shaped building, you want to add some depth and some character to your city. So you want to put in something like maybe my lighthouse, but you're saying, well, Jag, 10 blocks is too big for the area that I have, and I don't want to rip all my shit out just to put in your lighthouse. Well, you can make a smaller one. That's what we're here to learn today, is that we can take different sizes to make the same or similar objects. The most common object is columns, or R columns, as I'm making here, and also my lighthouse that I made is with a circle base, and it makes a real nice column. You can use any size. Here I'm just going over again how I put the stripes on the column by keeping everything even, using 2 separate colors. I promised in my last video that I would go ahead and do that. Okay, what we're looking at here is a template guide for the odd circles. For this tutorial I built 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13 because they are the smallest and the easiest to work with for beginners. Let's take 15 for example. Your 15 blocks is your diameter. So your center block is 8. So if you were to build this circle, set your center block, count out 7 blocks from each side, and then build the outside pattern. Looking down on the circles that I've made from left to right, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13, and we'll get a little bit better look at those here in just a few. And over on the other island, those are the even circles. They look very much the same but are slightly different. The difference is they do not have a 1 block center. They have a 4 block center, and I will show you a little bit more in the middle of this tutorial how that also applies and what that could be used for and what it really doesn't work good with. I do not have a picture guide for the even circles, but I have a link in the description that will take you to a website where it will break down each layer of your circle, so don't worry, it'll be fine. Okay, we're going to start with an even circle. This is a 12 diameter circle. The outside flat faces have 4 blocks, 3 diagonal blocks in between, and you will count in 6 blocks from each side. And you will see, if you count in 6 blocks from each side, you will end up with 4 blocks in the center. I take a little long here, fiddle fucking around. I don't know what I was doing. This is obviously a voiceover in my video, but the basis to what I'm doing here is I'm counting each block from the outside walls, which is kind of backwards. If you're building this circle, you will actually be laying your 4 center blocks first and then counting out to your exterior walls and then building the pattern. So as you can see here, I ended up with a 4 block pattern. Now let's take a look at a number 11, an odd circle. These already have the center blocks laid out, so you don't have to watch me flutter whack around and trying to find the center. But anyways, the 11 has 5 blocks on the flat surface, 2 diagonals in the corners, and 5 again, and the pattern repeats. So your center block is actually a 6 block. So there's 5 on each side, giving you 10 plus the middle block, which is 1. These, I think, have a better advantage for building certain kinds of structures than the even blocks. We are now done with the basic circles. Now on to the advanced quote-unquote circles. The only difference in why I call it advanced is because you can add a couple extra blocks on the outside perimeter to give it a little more of a round shape. This will more apply as you make your circles and domes and globes bigger. If you look at your template of your odd circles, you can see as the circles get bigger, there are more of those optional blocks that you can place in. Some of it is an eyeballing thing. Some of it's pretty obvious on the graph where it's at. The even circles, same thing. When they get bigger, the more optional blocks. Now that we learned how to make circles, now we can take that and apply it to making domes. The difference between domes is obviously that it takes the circle into a 3D form. The pattern that you used on the outside, if you split that exactly in half and stand that half up, that becomes your new template for making your dome. So as you can see on this particular circle, which is a 13, the pattern still remains the same. And we'll get up here and take a look. You have 2 blocks, 3 diagonals, and 5 across the middle. If you lay that back down, it's right where I'm standing. 5 blocks, 3 across the corners, and 5 across the straights again. The evens, you'll be able to see a little bit better what I was talking about earlier. Your 4-block pattern, your center block, you will not have a 1 center line down the middle. You have 2 blocks as your center pattern. So, but the circle still stays the same. Whatever you use on the outside, if you split that in half and stand it up, that becomes your new template for building off to make your domes. And I will actually walk you through how to build a dome a little bit later in the guide. Right now I'm kind of going through and showing you how it works. The blue blocks here are the optional blocks again. You could just ignore them if you want. Now on to the fun part. Jesus, Jag, it's about fucking time, right? Let's see how this all applies in your world of Minecraft. I'm going to give you some building ideas so you can kind of branch out and use what we've learned in this tutorial to make your world a little bit better. If you have a lot of square structures, you'll be able to add corners to them. You'll be able to build castles, all kinds of tunnels, and fun shit like that. My first example, I built a long railroad or mining cart line, and let's say in your world or my world I want to run it through a tunnel or a cool looking globe. This pattern here basically takes your dome and makes it complete all the way around. I take a number 10 or an 11, I believe. Your odd blocks are the best for this because, like I said earlier, you have a 1 block center. So if you have 1 track running down through, this design is ideal because your circle will look better this way. I use an 11. The red block is the center, 5 out from each way. Build your dome up from that, and this here is the framework. Your framework has to be the same, whether you're going from the X, Y, or the Z plane, which is left to right, front to back, or up and down from where I'm standing. You will have, again, 2 blocks, 2 in the middle, or 5 blocks, excuse me, 5 blocks, 2 diagonals, and 5 blocks. That will remain the same whether you're looking down on it, straight in at it like I am now, or below the plane of which I was standing. You can still see I have 5 blocks, I have my 2 diagonal blocks, and then I have my 5 blocks again. All the way around, the pattern continues to repeat. As long as you set up this pattern first, it's very hard to mess this up. And there again, like I will build an actual dome here in a minute, and then you'll just have to practice because I can't obviously hold your hand until you get real good at making these domes. But start small, and then once you get one down, you can actually take two in this example and stretch the center out as long as you would like. And I think this is kind of neat. This would make a really cool tunnel. You can either leave it flat across the ground, suspend it, and put a bottom underneath it. It has a lot of really cool options that you could add to this. Cover half of it in stone and grass, grow trees off the top of it, run it underground. The last example, this is your even circle. I made it a little bit small, but anyways, the concept here is that you have two. Remember, you have 4 blocks for your center, so if you was running tracks through this, you would have to run 2 tracks, or otherwise your tracks are going to look off-centered in the circle, and that just wouldn't look right. But it would still be really neat if you made like a train station and you made this thing really big and had a lot of different tracks coming out the 4 different sides. Here I'm just showing you how you knock the block out and build this corner out. There will be certain blocks that you'll be able to remove from the inside after building your dome, and these two here are definitely some of them. So let's go down and I'll show you how to build one. Okay, let's take the number 11 circle. After you have laid out your pattern and you have built just like mine, there are several different ways to actually begin building your dome. You can build up 1 block at a time until you reach the top, either working along the outside perimeter. Just remember to keep your pattern the same. Every time you go up a layer, make sure it repeats here as you see the red blocks. The first 2 layers are 2 blocks high, and then the dome moves in 1 block. So the easiest thing that I found to do is to take like this block here and go 2 blocks out on the number 11, and that basically mirrors the layer below it. And as you move up, work up to the center on the next block. That will also be your 5 blocks. Remember, because your flat sides will repeat going up, and then your diagonal blocks, that is what gives you your shape. So if you build your 5 block pattern going up to the center first, that'll make the corners a little bit easier. Here I'm just showing you how to what blocks will be missing and how to knock them out and get that block. You can either put it underneath, on top, however you want to get that next layer to go upwards. These can be very frustrating at first when you're first trying to learn how to build these, getting your blocks all messed up and it won't look right. You get pissed off. Just keep at it. Once you learn how to do this, you'll really open up your Minecraft world to a lot of new ideas and new things that you can build. Imagine each dome as layers. So in this particular case, the first 2 layers are exactly the same. They're 2 blocks high, and if they were solid and not hollow like we're making here, you would fill it in like I'm doing right now. And then the next layer up, which is your first diagonal block, imagine that being 1 solid layer all the way through. And don't concentrate first on making it hollow. Just concentrate on making the outside shape the way that it needs to be. And as you can see, everything will continue to move in and up 1 layer until you reach the top. The bigger these things get, the more you're going to get confused and pissed off. When I made the Thunderdome, it took several days of fucking with that because I made it out of glass. I make them here out of solid blocks because you can see better what I'm doing through the tutorial. And I highly advise, when you're first starting to make these, to use solid blocks, use colored blocks, and until you get the feel on how these things are built. You can also think of these as 4 giant steps or staircases, and then work on the corners and the inside. But the biggest part to it is getting the flat sides. Will make 4 giant steps. Up close they look chunky and very squared off, but back from a distance they look pretty good for being made out of squares. Alright, on to the next part. In this part of the video I'm going to show you how you can use your circles to make your buildings look better. In this example here, the 2 black lines, no, this is not a Chinese guy or a one-eyed Chinese guy, or, well, kind of looks like a little Chinese guy. But anyways, the black walls, or the black blocks rather, are, imagine your walls of, let's say, a castle or a building. And instead of having a squared off corner like this, you can actually round it off by using a circle. Lay out your circle in the middle, and then just use the outside pattern to make your radiused wall, and then just build up from that. If you want it to the outside, like a big castle, a big corner of a castle, which would be really neat, you'll have, again, using your circle pattern, lay your center block down and count out even both sides, just like you was going to make a regular circle, and decide whether or not you want it to connect evenly to each wall. If not, move the center block toward this red block here to the right, which is the center of the other circle, and that will actually move the big outside structure in a little bit. Otherwise, the way I have it here, you have 3 quadrants coming off from your wall, which is I think is a pretty good look. Once you have it laid out, then all you have to do is place your stone or block up from that, or actually use that to build your circle, and just build it as high as you want to, and let your imagination run wild. Okay, that's pretty much it for part 1 of my tutorial on the basic circles and basic domes. Be sure to watch part 2 for the more advanced domes and globes. Also, too, I mentioned earlier in the video about the even circles and a guide. Click the link in the description for the voxel spheres, and watch part 2 of my guide, and I'll explain more in detail how to use that page, because this part 1 got over 18 minutes and I really didn't expect it to get that long. But I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and please rate, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.